Happy New Year's, viewers. So I'm having an appropriately themed ale in order to introduce an idea that I have on the design of Highland Broadsword hilts. A few months ago I did a sort of a review of some historical swords, including a sort of early 17th century piece, and that had a particular feature on it that I noted at the time, and playing around with that feature has led me to some interesting conclusions. So to recap, the thing I'm talking about is these little curvy bits just there and there. Now, when we did the original review of the broadsword, I speculated that these things were a deliberate design feature there for some kind of reason. And since then, I found them on lots of other broadswords. You get them on sort of late 16th, early 17th century ones. You get them on 18th century sort of Culloden clan era ones. And you even get them on later regimental style broadswords. So obviously this was an important part of basket design that hilt makers knew to put in, and they obviously must have known what it was for. So what is it for? So here is my working theory, is that it's there to allow you to take a thrusting grip. So if I do a quick mechanical review, again, you should know this by now, parrying, I will take a hammer grip, okay, so that I have a strong skeletal-muscular structure to absorb the impact of whatever blow. If I want to hit somebody, I shift that to a handshake grip to allow that sword to drop down into head height while maintaining a strong skeletal-muscular structure with a nice straight wrist so that I can impart force into my opponent. If I want to thrust, this is no good. I need to get the point down lower. And the two ways of doing that, well, first of all, the wrong way of doing it is that will hurt your wrist if you hit something solid. The other ways are sticking your finger over the cross to pull it down in Mediterranean style, or you can use your thumb. And this is what Silver talks about, and Swetnam actually says it is the common method of doing so, which is to stick your thumb out along the top or side of the hilt and grip tightly with those three fingers, and that drops the point down into a thrusting grip while keeping your wrist nice and straight. And that's kind of the way, say, small swords are held. So when broadsword manuals talk about thrusting, they tell you this kind of thing, and then they often will say something like, but actually some basket hilts are too tight and you can't actually do it. Such as this one. So this is a nice, very nice reproduction, but it doesn't have any curves, it's just straight bars across there. And I can hammer fist for parrying, I can handshake for cutting, but I can't get any lower than that. This sword is not good for thrusting. I cannot take a proper thrusting grip with it without, if I stuck my thumbs kind of out through there, that would be in danger of being hit. That would be a very bad idea. And so the hilt is just too tight for me to drop that point down. So it's really not a good cut and thrust sword, it is just a cutting sword. So with my actual 17th century broadsword, I can hammer fist for parrying, I can handshake grip for cutting, and because I've got this little curve, I can stick my thumb out there and drop the point down for thrusting. And it's actually very quick and very comfortable to do so. So my working theory is that is what the curve is for. Now, what are we going to call it? Well, the curve was originally pointed out to me by one of my senior students, Dan Collins. So I reckon we should call it the Collins curve because he discovered it, so it should be named after him. So this is the Collins curve. And I think it's a really important part of broadsword design that has been, as still now, unknown. But more to the point, it explains something else. So these loopy things that you get on the front of broadswords are often called sword catchers. Again, not in any period source. No broadsword manual talks about sword catchers, no near contemporary source talks about sword catchers. Now it is true they do occasionally catch swords. I personally don't like them because every now and again you parry a blow and the other person's sword gets caught in your sword catchers and you go in riposte and you end up all stuck and then it turns into a nasty grapple. So I actually find the things rather annoying. But they do not catch swords regularly enough that that can be their ultimate purpose. If they're not very well designed, if that's what they're supposed to do. What they are really well designed for, as I have discovered playing about with this thing, is protecting your thumb. So if all I had was that curve outwards from the front of the basket, my thumb would be in terrible danger of being hit from either above or particularly from below, because it is sticking out beyond the front of the basket. So you really need something else, particularly there, to prevent your thumb from being struck at that angle, which is, you know, where the blow is going to be coming in on as you thrust with opposition, regardless of which side you do. So the sword catchers seem to be ideally designed as actually thumb guards. They're there to protect your thumb should you take a thumb grip with your sword. And sure, that if they get hit in that way, they might crumple in a little bit, but you're not going to get hit in the thumb, which is the main point. So the other really important thing is sword catchers probably aren't there to catch swords at all. They're probably there so that if you've got a Collins curve on your broadsword and you drop to a thrusting grip and you thrust at somebody and they countercat at you, your thumb is not going to get mushed. It's safe behind the crumple zone of that sword catcher thing. So that is my insight into the design of period broadswords. And the next time you're getting a broadsword made, ask specifically for a Collins curve, okay? Because then you will have a more accurate broadsword and you will be able to do more with it. Now, the last thing to say about that is, I said I've been finding these things everywhere, but all the ones that I've found have been on Scottish swords, on Highland broadswords. I haven't found any on English swords yet. Now, caveats about that are, first of all, especially in the sort of early period, telling what's Scottish and what's English is a bit, you know, you're never entirely sure. There are some things that are clearly English, some things that are clearly Scottish, and a whole bunch of stuff in between that could be either. Second caveat about it is my sample size for early English backswords, such as, like, basically we're talking pre-mortuary hilt design, which is the one that we'd be interested in, is very small. And the third caveat is the pictures that I do have are often taken of swords in that kind of angle. Well, this is even better because it doesn't have a thing. So if you are looking at the sword and it's photographed that way, you can't see the Collins curve when it's behind that bar, okay? Sometimes you need to get them photographed at quite odd angles to see that they're actually in there. So it could be that they are reasonably and equally common on early English backswords. You just can't see them in the photographs I've got. So the job of viewers, particularly anyone who's, say, in the UK and has, I know you're all sort of in COVID lockdown still, but when the armories open up and you can go and have a look at some and have a good look behind the hilts and look inside, let me know whether the early English swords, Mary Rose, up to sort of Civil War type stuff that are made out of the bars, have Collins curves in them or not. That would be really, really fascinating to know. So that is the video. Thank you for watching.